exotic blade steel that's difficult to heat treat and difficult to source. Every time I say it, I go mealy-mouthed with it for as little as $550. I don't know, maybe I've just been playing like too much Dark Souls lately. Friends, collectors, knife people, lend me your ears.
And eyes.
And eyes, as the case may be, for another week of new knives. Let's kick things off.
For the Microtech sale.
That's right, yes, before we get to this new Ken Onion, thank you, Thomas. This is worth calling out because this Microtech sale is extra special, and a sale on Microtech rarely happens. So from now through the weekend, we have 20% off all Microtech SOCOMs and LUDTs. That includes the very new Ram-Lock manual SOCOM, a totally redesigned manual version of the SOCOM, ambidextrous, thinner blade stock. This is a frag aluminum handle version. So it's these and the SOCOM Alphas, the Alpha Autos, and the LUDT Autos. 20% off all of those. Definitely grab one now if you've thought about getting one. A discount on Microtechs is rare, so this is a chance to save. Okay, but back to that Ken Onion. This is from his Karbon brand, and this is the new terminal crossbar lock. We are looking at 3.3 inches of 14C28N steel, contoured G10 handles, and a price of $128.95. I picked this brown G10 version because it I thought was the most eye-catching to me, but all of the versions look really, really sweet. Kind of a mix of a hard-working, I don't want to call it a budget knife because the price is not strictly budget, but like a solid-feeling, simple knife that you won't be afraid to use, but with some elevated touches. So check out, for example, the pocket clip. This is a beautifully milled, tail-mounted deep carry pocket clip. So it just takes one fastener to attach. It's naturally ambidextrous. You can flip it over. A pretty nice touch on a relatively straightforward Ken Onion design. There's a lot of little details here that I think you can appreciate when you get it in hand. And there's some callbacks to some of Ken Onion's previous legendary body of work. You know, his designs have ranged from outlandish to simple and elegant. But there's some things he keeps returning to, like these angled thumb studs. The thumb studs have a little bit of an angle to them that helps catch your thumb when you flick it open. Makes it very easy to deploy. Man, so nice. And I like the big belly on the blade there. It's not a radical curve to it, so I don't think you're going to have trouble with things kind of sliding off the edge. But it's all belly. One continuous curve makes slicing very satisfying. Nice articulate tip there. Just sort of a perfectly sized EDC knife from one of the true masters of modern knife design. Next, we have a couple new brands to welcome to the Knife Center, starting with Sharps Bros. This right here is the Meanstreak, and it is a very unique button lock. You may be asking, where is the button? Well, the button is that intricate kind of crest there on the bolster. It's really, really precisely fit. It must be like wire EDM or something to get those two pieces to fit, but in order to unlock the blade, you press in on that crest and the button depresses and the knife comes closed. You can see now perhaps that the crest is recessed into the bolster, so the button is pushed in. Really interesting. I've never seen anything like that. A very stylish and fairly utilitarian kind of version of a button lock. The price on this, though, is $199.95. We've got S35VN steel, 3 inches of it, and a mix of titanium and maybe steel liners? Yeah, the bolsters are steel. The scales are titanium. So, very interesting knife here. A nice, compact, stylish, and quite unique EDC flipper.
And the other Meanstreak.
Yes, this next knife from Sharps Knives is Sharps Bros Knives. It's also called the Meanstreak. This is the Meanstreak SBK-F09 to be specific. And this one is a more conventional frame lock flipper. Full titanium scales there, nice kind of gold anodized accents, some significant milling on the inside to reduce the weight, and very smooth flipping operation. The detent is not super strong, I think perhaps due to a relatively light spring weight on the lock bar, but that means that the closing action is just guillotine smooth. So easy to close, very satisfying. You can see it just falls under its own weight there with a little nudge of momentum. It's very satisfying to use. And I like the overall kind of commitment to the angular theme there, the way that this specialized pivot is sunk into the scales there through some relief cuts. We've got other angles happening on the back. Pretty stylish piece, a little larger if you wanted more than 3 inches of blade. This has 3.3 inches. The price is actually less. It's $169.95. So, you know, perhaps owing to its slightly simpler, more conventional construction, the price is a little less here, but you actually get a bit more blade. Check out Sharps Rose. They're new to the website. There's a couple more frame lock flippers as well. Yeah, welcome them to the KnifeCenter and give them a try. Let us know what you think. Sticking with the new brand theme, we have a brand called Knife Standards. This is also brand new to us. A very clean looking aesthetic is a Knife Standards thing, I would say. This is their Station bolstered frame lock, a price of $375, a 3.2 inch Vanax blade, and titanium and twill carbon fiber handles there. Very precisely made, very perfectionist feeling, you know, the way the perfect sheep's foot blade tucks away into its kind of squared off handles. Definitely seems like the work of a brand that is very keen on the details.
I might say they have standards.
Yes, the brand is apt for sure. In fact, I think their boxes even say like, do you have knife standards? So they're pretty serious about quality. And I like that they went with Vanax steel to kind of sell how serious they are about knife performance. It's not just the keenness of their designs, but the fact that they're using exotic blade steel that's difficult to heat treat and difficult to source kind of sets them apart a little bit. Vanax steel, for those who don't know, is an exceptionally stainless steel. Kind of like MagnaCut, it has that unique balance of high edge retention, high stainless, and decent toughness. Not as tough as MagnaCut, but it achieves it in a much different way than MagnaCut does. It's got a larger than normal amount of nitrogen in the steel, which sort of acts like carbon to help harden it. Anyway, we're well into the weeds now, but Vanax is special stuff, and it's fun to have in a collection and fun to appreciate what makes it different and better. So cool to see it here on a brand new brand. One last call out before I go on to the fixed blade from this brand. Check out the kind of pinstriping on that machined pocket clip. Really, really neat. I've always thought that a pocket clip is the modern version of a traditional knife shield. You know, the same way a shield on a slip joint kind of allowed the maker to express themselves, kind of show off a little something. The pocket clip is kind of like that for a modern knife. You know, it's the part that you see sticking out of your pocket. It presents the knife to the world. So I think it's fun when makers put a little extra style on it. All right, and this is their Station Knife fixed blade. We have the same, I don't know, design philosophy, I guess, with a big old sheep's foot, true sheep's foot blade, a long fuller that stretches the whole way, Vanax steel, but in a fixed blade. And I like the modifications they've done. Rather than just taking the Station folder and kind of copy and pasting it with a full tang, they've changed it to take advantage of things fixed blades can do with this dropped edge. The ergonomics are very simple. It's a, you know, rather stick-like handle, pretty straight. Some contour to it, but squared off. Comfortable, not pointy, but squared off. The dropped edge, though, makes this much more usable on a cutting board, for example. You can, in a pinch grip, get the whole edge down to make use of it. You can also choke up a little bit safely because that drop to the edge is acting almost like a finger choil, protecting your fingers from the sharpened edge. Very utilitarian. It's a flat grind instead of the hollow, like on that folder, so a little tougher, but still nice, keen edge geometry. And again, Vanex steel, exotic, high-performance stuff. It's going to be fun to use, to take advantage of it. And the sheath is this nice carbon fiber patterned kydex that snaps in with excellent authority. Comes with a nice little plastic drop loop. Looks like it's adjustable for angle as well. So if you want to do this kind of scout style, you could do that as well. All right, we're going to stay with the fixed blades for a minute with some of my favorite knives on the table, actually. Right here we have a brand new fixed blade from LynchNW. Now, LynchNW is the maker of the finest aftermarket clips on the market. In fact, I just so happened today to be carrying a Emerson. Yeah, I've got my little Emerson A100 here with an aftermarket Lynch clip. Love this thing. Totally made this knife way nicer to carry. He's been making awesome clips for all types of knives for years now, and has just started making actual knives, which is very exciting. The quality, I'm happy to report, is absolutely top-notch. But let's talk about the details here. So this is called the Sparrow 7. The price is $320, and the steel is crew wear. Got 3.3 inches of blade, a little over 4 inches of handle, and a lovely design that accommodates a couple of different grips here. We've got a finger choil, again, that drop to the edge. A lot of fixed blade makers are doing this now because it does add so much utility. I really like how this feels. It's, I don't know, it almost reminds me of like a pair of two, the way you have two equally useful grips. I feel very locked in either way. You know, when I'm up here, I'm really scrunched up in that blade. I'm feeling like I have a lot of control. When I'm back here, I have more leverage, still have a good four-fingered grip, but just feels like a little more knife when I'm choked back like this. The grind is a high kind of flat saber with a nice keen edge, nice sharpening choil. I mean, you know, making all those pocket clips for years, I think exposed Lynch to so many different knife designs. He kind of came out of the gate with so much design knowledge. This feels like a very mature knife for a first knife. I'm very impressed, and I love the sheaths as well. This is what you get out of the box. It's a leather pocket sheath. Very kind of minimal footprint for a pocket fixed blade, which I love. Fits in there like so, and you've got a nice steel clip to keep this on your belt, or maybe in your waistband if you wanted to go that way too. You could also, I think, maybe use this as a belt loop for a scout style carry. It looks a little tight. I don't know if I'd want to do that right out of the gate, but yeah, the sheath is really well made, just like the knife. If you really wanted a true pocket fixed blade though, you could opt for the Swift 6 from LynchNW. This little guy is $305, 2.5 inches of crew wear steel, and in this case, double black linen micarta handle. Really cool. Double black micarta kind of looks like G10, because traditional black micarta is actually kind of black and green mixed together, I believe. It does
the green dye, they just do more of it.
Yeah, that is what I've heard too. So it doesn't have that deep saturation of like a full black G10, but the double black stuff kind of does. So it looks like G10, feels like micarta. This is almost more like a neck knife size. We've got really a single grip. I don't, you know, if you choke back, for example, you only get 3 fingers on this, but choking up is very secure in the hand. An unguarded finger choil here, so there's nothing keeping you from the edge but your grip, but I still feel like it's big enough and shaped well enough to give me some confidence to use this thing hard. I like the blade finish on this too. Kind of a tiger stripe thing. It looks like it's been done by etching instead of blasting, but just a guess. Again, this one comes with the same type of sheath as the other, but smaller, even more pocketable. A great choice for EDC. Oh, one thing I haven't mentioned yet, all of these Lynch Northwest knives are made in-house in the USA. So, you know, if you're a little surprised by the prices, take that into account. I actually think that, you know, these are more like custom knives than production knives, and I think the prices are very fair. But yeah, I really like these Lynch fixed blades. Really hoping and excited to see more stuff, more knives from Lynch Northwest. All right, if you were looking for an excellent little EDC fixed blade and wanted one that also was an excellent value, check out this new Kizer. This is the Field Mouse, designed by Jacob Ginsberg, a really, really excellent new designer. If you know his name, you probably know him from his Chickadee knife. We did an exclusive with him, the Solar Flare Chickadees. They sold out like that. He is one of the best miniature fixed blade makers. Maybe miniature is pushing it a little far, but that Chickadee is really, really small and yet still really, really usable. So he knows what he's doing with these small fixed blades, and the Field Mouse is a great entry point to that, especially for the asking price of $125 for 3V steel. I really like this design. It is very much a 3-fingered knife, as you can see, but comes right out of the box with a nice lanyard to give that pinky a little something to squeeze onto. This is the premium version of the knife. The 3V steel, the gold camo carbon handles kind of kick that price up, but you can also get it for as little as 65 bucks with micarta and I think 14C. Yeah, so an excellent value for the kind of refinement of design that this knife represents. Kind of a powerful modified sheep's foot blade there. Really nicely contoured handle. You know, it's just a neat trick. It's a small knife, but it fills the hand nicely. The sheath here is a carbon fiber patterned Kydex with a simple belt clip, locking belt clip. Nice little setup. If you wanted to, clearly this sheath was made to be able to be carried like a neck knife with these two rivets there. You could pop off that clip, put on a little chain, and carry it around your neck if you wanted to go that way. Keeping the Kizers rolling for a minute, we've got a new design from Jonathan Stiles. This is the Staff. Coming in at $199 with 2.99 inches of S45 VN steel, titanium and carbon fiber handles. This one's cool. This is like almost bordering on a like a fantasy knife in terms of the embellishments here. I don't know, maybe I've just been playing like too much Dark Souls lately, but this reminds me of a wizard staff. You know, it's got that kind of, I don't know, fantastical look to it around there.
It's got an eyeball in the middle.
Yeah. The name is very apt. It does look like a staff, but the action is super smooth. You know, Kizer has not maybe ever made a knife with bad action. They all just work flawlessly. Nice and smooth on the close. Got a flipper deployment or dual thumb studs. And the blade shape is very utilitarian. You know, it could have been a fantastical, hyper curvy compound ground, something or other. But instead it's opted for this nice reverse tanto. I'll say it. Nice little swedge there, full flat grind, perfectly straight edge. It's gonna cut like a little razor blade. I mean, very clean looking sculpted titanium pocket clip for a nice presentation in the pocket. If you want a knife with lots of style that doesn't sacrifice utility, I think the Staff is a sweet way to go. This next knife from Kizer is quite the handful. This right here is the Cyclone, designed by James Lowe. Comes in at $239 with 3.7 inches of S35 VN steel and a big old handle. made from titanium and purple haze fat carbon. I really like the black and purple theme here. That color combination always kind of works for me. A very inky black DLC on the blade. There's also a stonewashed version, which happens to be a little less. You could, if you opt for that, it's only $209, but this DLC I think really pops. The blade here is quite aggressive. We've got a upswept tip to it, nice and thin, very precise, very aggressive. Big continuous curve to the belly. Going to be good for slicing, good for kind of approaching a cut from a lot of different angles. You know, you can kind of get that belly down as the leading edge anywhere along this shape. It's also very fidgetable with a drop shut close, a snappy flipper, and a very large and easy to access finger hole. So yeah, you can flick it, thumb it open. One other standout feature I like quite a bit is the ergonomics. The way that the end of this handle kind of widens and dips down the way it does really anchors it into the back portion of your grip, which is where most of the strength of the grip comes from. So I feel very, very much in control of this blade while I'm holding it. And with such a kind of wild and aggressive blade, I think that really makes a difference. We've got a new entry in the Kizer Vanguard line with this Caleb Waldman design, the Masu. This is $79.95 for 14C28N steel and milled Richlite scales. We've also got Kizer's button-operated top liner lock, a very, very strong and efficient system. So fidgetable too. The button liner lock, top liner lock thing is definitely the new trend, definitely the hotness for 2026, and I'm here for it. It is truly a superior system. You know, you can argue with me in the comments, but the combination of the ball detent and the finger safe opening and closing is just killer. You really need to add a button-operated top liner to your collection. I just wish we had a more elegant way to describe these things, because every time I say it, I go mealy-mouthed with it. In any case...
There's always Battle Lock.
Yeah, Battle Lock? I don't know. We just need to decide on something, and unfortunately what we've decided on is top liner lock, but anyway, that's a rant for another day. This knife here it's interesting. So the blade geometry, the cutting geometry, is very kind of slicer oriented. We've got a broad blade with a full flat grind that comes down to a super keen edge. Kind of a modified Warncliffe, if I had to call it anything. But then the geometry of the blade to handle relationship kicks that blade down at kind of a negative angle. So it's a very, very aggressive feeling blade. You know, you've got like that angle of attack to lead with the tip and pull through materials. Even though the blade has a significant kind of drop to the edge from the handle, it's still not going to be the greatest on a cutting board. You know, you're only going to be able to use about half of that edge before the end of the handle hits. I think if you want something to just like cut cardboard all day long, this would be a good choice for that. You know, you could choke up into that choil and just rip through stuff. The angle of attack, like I said, is just so aggressive. This thing really, really wants to pierce and slice. Yeah, check it out. The Masu from Kizer and Caleb Waldman. Next, we've got a little slip joint here from Kizer called the Melody. This was designed by Paul Munko. Comes in at $125 and features S35 VN steel, aluminum handles, and Panama rosewood inlays. Nice little elegant design here. Kind of a mix of modern and traditional styles. The silhouette is traditional, just kind of a nice straight clip, but the grind is very modern with a compound grind, hollow through the straight portion of the blade, and then a flat grind at the tip. You can just kind of see maybe the transition there. When custom makers do it, they often do it to show off their hand grinding skills because it's very difficult to achieve both of those grinds with symmetrical on either side and have a nice clean transition. It's also helpful because it strengthens the tip. You know, if you're going to be prodding with that clip point tip, it's good to have a little more meat behind the edge. So a compound grind like this can help reinforce it. The slip joint action, we've got a 1/3 stop. Good spring tension to it. It's not a detent joint, it's a true back spring, so got a good self-close to it. And then a pocket clip. Nice hidden hardware milled clip too. So this feels very elegant in a modern style, very classy. You know, if you were going somewhere where you couldn't carry a one-hand opening knife, this would be a great way to kind of keep something in the same spot in your pocket to fill that void in your pocket and in your life. I know I feel like I'm missing something whenever I don't have a knife in my pocket. So maybe, you know, for a dress knife, for classy occasions, you wanted to have something that suited the occasion, but still fulfilled kind of a little harder use, a little more modern style to it. I think this Melody would suit the bill. The latest drop from Finch Knife Company is the Pretty Boy Backlock. This is part of their Sugar House Knife Syndicate line, which is just what they call their traditionals. You know, they make their kind of modern, traditionally styled knives. For their traditionally styled knives, that's the Sugar House Knife Syndicate stuff. But this release is pretty cool. It is named after a notorious bank robber from the Great Depression era, named of Charles Arthur Floyd, who became something of a folk hero for allegedly distributing some of his stolen money to locals across the country as he went from bank to bank.
Keeps a wee percentage.
Yeah, just a bit for himself. And I picked this one because we've got the jailhouse stripes on the handle. I just thought it's such a cool theme, and it fits, you know, both the era that this knife is drawing from, the story that it's kind of retelling, and also looks pretty cool. And check out the money bag shield too. I mean, come on. This is not a slip joint, it is a backlock. So nice stiff spring though, good self-close, locks in the open position. I like the pinched bolsters here. Gives you a little grip, a little something to sink your fingies into. And then the blade is quite stout. It's somewhat short with 2.5 inches of blade, 14C28N steel, price of $99. Yeah, cool stylish clip point, nice long pull on the blade there. Just a good looking knife. And what a fun story too. Next up we have some new CJRBs. This right here is the Latitude. For an asking price of $54.99, you get 3.5 inches of RPM 9 steel, G10 handles, and, say it with me, a button actuated top liner lock.
Battle.
You are going to be fighting that battle alone there, Thomas. I don't think that one's going to catch on.
It's nice though. I like a die on it.
This might be the most affordable version of this lock. If you wanted to check it out for the least amount of cost for still a really nicely made knife, check this one out. Nice, you know, well-balanced design. Plenty of handle back here for a 4-fingered grip. You got a finger choil for choking on up. Spear point-ish. It's a drop point, but it's the tip is almost in the center line. So I'll stretch and call it a spear point. I also like the little extra details here. The pivot collar is red aluminum, and they've actually matched that to a collar around the thumb studs. Nice kind of red aluminum there. Very easy to manipulate, very satisfying with that detent. Snaps open, slides closed. Yeah, if you wanted a work knife, you just needed something new to fidget with, this is an awesome choice. Very utilitarian design, solid RPM 9 steel. Just another banger from CJRB. And next up is a knife we've seen before in a different form. This is the Rodayo. So this is a Derek Costa design, and this was previously released under his own brand. with a much more premium kind of level of materials. But this one for $54.99 is so good. We got RPM 9 steel, in this case red and white G10 handles, a liner lock, and a flipper for deployment. I think this version is actually quite a bit bigger than the original version. 3.8 inches of blade here. It's a very full-size knife, very full-size we could say. But I just love the style, man. Look at that. Really bold, really seamless inlays there. It catches the eye. It's got a little bit of the Rodayo in it. I can see where it's coming from. And a very usable, elegant drop point shape. Yeah, this one's just cool. I think at the price, these are going to be a hit. And all the different colorways look good. There's like a Tiffany blue and white version. There's a black and white version. They all look good. You can't go wrong with them. And they're all $54.99. Got another new design from Bestech and Ostap Hell with this Duci. This is a really interesting little knife. So $199 here is the asking price. We've got 20 CV steel, 2 inches of it, and a titanium frame lock handle. So obviously you can see the big old finger ring here. It is, karambit style, you could say, but the blade is much more kind of pure EDC utility. The ergonomics work quite well. I got 3 fingers on the knife, 1 finger in the ring. I am locked in this grip. But this knife has a trick up its sleeve. Now if we turn it over, you can see what at first looks like just another screw in the standoff holding it together is actually a button lock. And that button lock is holding in the finger ring. So this finger ring hooks around one of the standoffs and locks into place at the back of the handle. How cool is that? So you can remove it, and then you're left with just a little itty bitty EDC knife. Yeah, if you wanted to go this way, keep it low profile. You've got a lightweight, small, fairly elegant little frame lock flipper. And then when you hook this ring on, the character of the knife totally transforms. It goes full tactical mode. You've got the finger ring there hanging off the end. It's locked into place. It's that button lock is truly securing it in place. You have to depress the button in order to get it off. And if you wanted, you could even mix and match different rings with different knives. I don't know why you would want to, but you could. Got more than one. Yeah, really cool concept, The finger ring does radically transform the knife, both the way that it feels, the way that it sits in your pocket. If you don't want that all the time, though, it's cool to be able to remove it. So I like what Bestech and Ostap Hell have done with the Duci. Okay, we've got a couple new knives from Ketuo that just landed. The first of which is this Morgan. And there are a number of different versions of this knife available. This is by far the blingiest of them all. So I pulled it for the camera to dazzle y'all with just how gold and green this thing is. This knife is, as they say, money. For $235, you get 3.3 inches of S45 VN steel, milled titanium handles, titanium liner, pocket clip, and this intensely gold PVD finish on the blade and all the hardware. Ketuo is a really, high quality maker. They also are not afraid to have a little fun with it. And I do very much appreciate that about them. This is not going to be for everyone in terms of the looks, but the design is pretty straightforward, pretty to the point, nothing wrong with this. Got a nice simple handle, a nice clip point blade shape, crown spine, lots of little details here that make this knife easy to live with as long as you can live with the way that it looks. And fear not, like I said, if this one's not to your taste, there are much more conventional looking versions of this knife. Quite like the inlay work here too. We got the exotic carbon fiber. Really kind of makes this knife pop. The next knife from Ketuo is called the Usurper. Check this thing out. If I had to describe it in just 2 words, I would say shard-like. In 1 word, maybe crystalline. This thing is pointy and angular and very aggressive. Coming in at $265, we've got 3.4 inches of M390 steel, milled titanium handles, and milled titanium everything. Pocket clip to match, titanium liner. Very, very cool knife. This one feels like it's built for those people addicted to the finger flicking deployment. You can open it with your thumb as well, but it goes a little slower that way. The front flipper I haven't had a lot of luck with, but the flick is just very satisfying. I like the handle texture on this, kind of driving home the crystalline theme. All these little points and overlapping lines here really tie the whole thing together. And the ergonomics, you know, it's thin, but works quite well. It's only thin in this dimension. If we look on this dimension, it's actually got a good amount of size to it. So it still fills the hand decently well, kind of locks into the grip. That blade, though, is very, very aggressive. The tip is quite thin and very precise. We've got a straight first edge to the tanto. It's flat ground, so it's a little thicker, but behind the edge it's still quite thin. And then a hollow grind behind this main portion of the edge. Feels like it's got 2 personalities almost. You know, this part of the edge is going to be good for slicing, for just push cutting. This part of the edge is going to be almost more for detail stuff, you know. With how thin that tip is, I wouldn't want to go prying. I mean, forget prying. Don't forget I even said that. I would be careful with that little tip, but it thickens up fairly well as it moves along. So yeah, gonna feel like almost 2 blades in one, getting to use 2 different straight edges there. Very cool, very stylish knife, and built to a extremely high level of quality by Ketuo. The last folders on the table today come from Custom Knife Factory. First of which is the Lex, designed by Mike Culligan. Forgive me, Mike. It comes in at $550 with 3.5 inches of M398 steel and crystallized titanium handles. A lot of details on this. The design is very simple, utilitarian, beautiful drop point. You know, if the materials and the execution were not so rarefied, like this would be just a good budget beater knife, you know, if this was like $40, but it's not $40. And that's because of all the work they've put in to some of these little things here. So, for example, the swedge here is mirror polished, which on M398 steel is quite an achievement. And then the crystallized titanium handles are intricately milled, weight relieved on the inside, multicolor anodized, and it snaps open with a very satisfying action. I also really like the lock relief cut. Instead of just, you know, cutting a channel or cutting some grooves to give that lock bar the spring relief it needs in order to work, they've kind of given it this little wavy pattern to match some of the milling on the rest of the handles. Really cool stuff like that. Like this is, you know, how CKF justifies the price. The knives are rare. They're usually only made once or twice. They work with designers nobody else does. And the designs themselves still work really, really well. You know, M398 steel is truly chart-topping stuff, so
A lot of M's.
it's more M's than any other steel. Very cool, very flashy, yet simple and refined at the same time. Next up, we have the Tasca, designed by Jan Samek. This custom knife factory comes in at $615 with M398 steel and crystallized titanium handles. Big batch of crystallized titanium in this latest arrivals from CKF, although there are also some regular titanium handles for a bit of a cost savings. I think you can get this for as little as $550. Nonetheless, what we have here is a beautifully designed flipper. Let's check out that action real quick. Very snappy, very satisfying. Nice frame lock design. Kind of simple elements, but extremely, extremely detail-oriented material selection and also manufacturing quality. Just, I've never seen a CKF that wasn't perfectly centered, that didn't flip perfectly. Their quality is really second to none. And the types of designs they make, they all kind of really appeal to me. Just a mix of like a futurism kind of brutalism thing going on, but still never breaking the fundamentals of good knife design. If this one appeals to you, definitely pick one up while they're in stock, because like a lot of CKF stuff, we probably will never see this again. All right, now finally we have here some new kitchen knives from GiantMouse. This right here is their carving knife, and it is an all-new addition to their kitchen knife lineup. It is similar in silhouette to their chef's knife, but significantly smaller and with a different kind of edge profile. So this has 5.6 inches of Nitro B steel, not Nitro V, Nitro B, and an asking price of $175. This is my favorite of the GiantMouse kitchen knives so far. It's that nice kind of middle ground utility knife size, the kind of thing you reach for first, whether you're dicing an onion or, as this name implies, carving up some meat to cook with. It's going to do it all, not be too big to get in its own way, not be too small to not be able to do what you're doing. Love the size of this type of kitchen knife. And the blade shape here is really, really, really elegant and nicely done. It is a drop point, but the spine rises up just a little bit before the tip to give a little extra width and curvature to the edge. So if you're working, for example, you're in a chicken carcass or something and you're kind of working in it, that little curvature gives you some extra leverage to push off of. It's a feature I find very useful on a meat processing knife. The belly is a little bit exaggerated. We've got a bit more curvature towards the tip there. Going to give it a lot of rock on a cutting board. Look at how far up and down that thing goes. And then again, the size is just perfect for almost everything in the kitchen. The balance is good. Nice sculpted G10 handles. Yeah, I like this one a lot. I think if you already have GiantMouse kitchen knives, you got to add this to your collection. And if you were just looking for one GiantMouse kitchen knife to add to the rest of your kitchen knife collection, check this one out. It's just that great middle ground. Finally, we come to the Santoku. This is called the Santoku because that's what it is. We've got 6 3/4 inch of Nitro B steel, quite a wide Santoku profile, and a nice curvature to the edge. As opposed to maybe a more traditional Japanese style Santoku, which itself, I guess, was kind of a hybrid of a Western style with the truly traditional Japanese style. Anyway, the history of Santokus is interesting. But as opposed to that more traditional Japanese brand Santoku, this one has a bit more width to the blade and a bit more curvature to the edge. So it's going to accommodate more kind of grips, maybe bigger hands on a cutting board, and a bit more of a rock to it. This has a really nice soft landing to the rock cuts. So whether you're kind of using it like a Japanese style, where you're just chopping through things or rocking through things, it's going to work well for either technique. It feels more robust as well. I mean, the edge is still very thin and the grind is still very nice, full flat. But it's got a nice substantial weight to it. Feels like a very sturdy, well-built knife. For $215, I think it's gonna fit in nicely with your premium kitchen knife competition. But with that nice, clean GiantMouse style. The handle is very elegant, beautifully shaped. Check out the kind of curvature to it, a little bit of Coke bottle there, nice flare at the end. Yeah, just suits the hand perfectly and is well balanced in a pinch grip. Let's see, the balance point is just about there, just behind the pinch grip. So it kind of, in the true kitchen knife pinch grip, it makes the blade feel very lightweight. And then if you're back on the handle, It's got a bit more mass to it for maybe some choppier cuts. Yeah, nicely designed Santoku from GiantMouse. Well, that's all for this week's New Knives of the Week. We have new knives added really every day, so we'll be back again next week with another table full of new awesome stuff. Thanks for sticking with us to the end. Remember about our Knives Rewards program, because as long as you're going to buy any of these knives, you might as well get some free money to spend on your next one. We've got new payment options, Sezzle, Apple Pay now, more ways than ever to pick up something awesome at KnifeCenter.com. With that, I've been Seth V. That's Tom's behind the camera. We'll see you next time.
And that's lunch.
I'm hungry.